The third proved problematic. Until the case reached its end, I was reduced to nothing but an absent gaze. Think of it this way. I was a pair of abstract eyes walking around wearing my flesh as a disguise. Living as such, there was no point of expecting any form of societal responsibilities or human reaction. Kiyoshi Kasai, Bye Bye Angel. This is Black Butler Abridger, and I'll be reading Death Note, Another Note, the Los Angeles BB murder. How to use. When Beyond Birthday committed his third murder, he attempted an experiment, namely to see if it was possible for a human being to die of internal hemorrhaging without rupturing any organs. Specifically, he would drag his victims so that they would fall unconscious, tie them up, and proceeded to beat their left arm thoroughly, being careful not to break their skin. He was hoping to bring about enough hemorrhaging to cause death with the loss of blood. But this attempt sadly ended in failure. Blood congested in the arms, and it turned purplish red beneath the skin. But the victims did not die. They simply shook, convulsed it, and remained alive. He had been convinced the blood loss incurred by this would be enough to kill someone. But apparently, he was underestimated the matters. As far as Beyond Birthday was concerned, the actual method of murder rated fairly low on his amusement level, and was never more than an interesting experiment. It had not particularly mattered to him whether it succeeded or not. Beyond Birthday simply shrugged and took out a knife. No! This not the style, not this narrative. I'll never manage to keep up this arch tone all the way through. The harder I try, the more bored I get, and the lazier the writing will be. To put in terms of Holland Caulfield, one of the history's most famous literary bullshitters, might use, detailing what Beyond Birthday did and thought does not suit my purpose. Even if in my position, I have a great deal of sympathy for him. Explaining the entirety of his murders in a carefully phrased sentence does not in any way increase the value of these notes. This is not a report, nor is it a novel. Even if it happens to turn into one of those, I will not be happy. I hate to use such hawk-eyed lines, and I imagine that by the time one lays eyes on these words, I will no longer be alive. I hardly need to remind the readers about the epic battle between the century's greatest detective, L, the grotesque murderer, and Kira. The instrument of death was a little bit more fantastic than a guillotine, for example. But all Kira to accomplish was another regime of terror and a pathetic and futile way of thinking. Looking back, I can only surmise that the gods of victory smile on Kira for their own vain amusement. Perhaps these gods actually wanted a blood-soaked world of betrayal and false accusation. Perhaps the entire episode existed as a lesson to teach us the difference between the Almighty and the Shinigamis. Who knows? I, for one, have no intentions of wasting any more time thinking about this most negative series of events. To hell with Kira. What matters to me is L, the century's greatest detective. In light of his staggering mental abilities, L died an unjust and untimely death. In the public records alone, he solved over 3,500 different crimes and sent 3 times of that number of degenerates to prison. He wielded an incredible power and was able to mobilize every investigation bureau in the entire world, and was applauded generously for his efforts. And during it all, he never showed his face. And I wanted to record his words as accurately as possible. I wanted to leave them for someone to find, as someone who was given the chance to follow in his footsteps. Well, I may not be been able to succeed him, but I want to leave this behind. So what? So what you're reading now are my notes of L. It's a dying message, not for me, and not direct to the world. The person who will most likely read this will probably be the big-headed twit Nair. But if that's the case, I will tell him to shred or burn these pages. If it causes him pain to discover that I knew things about L that he did not, then that's fine. There's also the chance the killer might read this. I hope he does. If these notes tell the murderer who only got by with the help of the supernatural killing notebook and idiotic Shinigami that he was under another circumstances not even worth the dirt beneath L's shoes, then he'd have served their purpose. I'm one of those few people who have met L as L, and when and how I met L, this is the single most valuable memory I have, and I will not write it here. But on that occasion, L related to me 3 stories of his exploits, and the episode involving Beyond Birthday was one of them. If I dropped the pretense and simply referred to it as the Los Angeles BB murder case, then I imagine many of you will have heard of them. Obviously, I've never came to light that L, or more importantly, the Whammy House, which raised me until I was 15, was deeply connected to the matter, but in fact they were. L, on the principle, never got involved in a case unless there was more than 10 victims or $1 million at stake, and this was the real reason why he belatedly but aggressively involved himself in this little case, which only ever had 3 or 4 victims. I will explain further in the pages that follow, but this reason, the case of the Los Angeles BB murder case, are watershed events of L. For me, even for Kira, it was an amusement event for all of us. Why? Because this case is where L first introduced himself as Ryuzaki. So let's skip the past, all those tedious descriptions of what Beyond Birthday's thoughts and how he went through his killings, his 3rd victim, since I have no interest in that at all. And while we're at it, let's skip the 2nd and 1st. Make no effort to look back on the earliest murders and adjust the clock's hand to the morning of the day after, the glistening moment when the century's greatest detective L first began to investigate the case. Oh, I almost forgot. In the events that anyone besides that big-head Nair or that deluded murderer is reading these notes, then I should at least perform a basic courtesy of introducing myself here at the end of the prologue. I am the narrator, your navigator, your storyteller. For anyone else but these two, my identity may be no interest, but I'm the old world's runner-up, the best dresser that died like a dog, Mikhail Kili. I once called myself Mellow and was addressed by that name, but that was a long time ago. Good memories and good nightmares.